I am an architect. So I graduated both in School of Architecture in Paris and Valencia. And I immediately started my own architectural practice, which I led until 2014. And a bit before that, in 2012, I found myself lacking the financial ingredient of the real estate investment. So knowing the Spanish market and knowing the real estate Spanish market, I found myself not understanding anymore in the middle of the crisis, of course. So you may remember how Spanish was really very deeply punched among the Spanish, the crisis, the hedge fund crisis from 28. And what I immediately learned myself is that I couldn't understand anymore how an industry that is so equity intensive had nothing to do with the basic financial rules. So I found myself lacking and with a thirst to know about financials. So I started a program in ESCP, this quite renowned Spanish business school. And for me, everything tilts and everything made much more sense since I acquired this financial knowledge. So I really wanted to start a new company in which all the financial motivation went along with the seek of high quality architecture. So I founded a new company from 2014, which was aiming to become a consultancy firm that was able to bring together high quality architecture, iconic architecture, but without losing the sight of profitability. So this was my first crusade to try to convince the Spanish market that we could have both. So before the crisis, I would say we had two types of buildings. So the iconic buildings, which were not profitable at all, which not even sustainable from a financial point of view, and the pure profitability exercises of building buildings. So my first dream was to bring them all together and try to find tools to convince developers, and at that time, the first investment funds focusing on real estate were starting to think about investing in Spain. So let's say I kind of envisioned or anticipated an important change, an important shift of how the real estate industry was going to evolve after the Spanish crisis, after the housing crisis. And then I was lucky, and we got immediately involved with these institutional investors that perfectly understood the shift. So it was easier for them to say, okay, we understand what you're looking for. You understand the necessity to have an ROI, even an NOI. We understand that you need to pay back your shareholders, but we must fight for doing that without dropping the high quality in architecture. So this was kind of my first step. After 2018, when we had this kind of green crops, you may have heard of the expression. That was kind of so when we started to have these green crops, meaning that the economy was apparently broken up again, and real estate in Spain, which it's an important part of the economy. So real estate again was in the picture, was again super vibrant, and started to be. The land purchase started to be very competitive. All the landscape became again super competitive. And we went to a point in which we had already conquered this kind of new clients. So most of them related to investment funds, institutional equity. And they understood how we wanted to bring value in a different way compared to the past. We understood as well, and the Spanish market understood, that the way they were business planning the investments had completely changed. So they really needed to model something that hold the root. And at some point in time, we needed to think about reverse engineering, in the sense of, before the crisis, The developer was just purchasing a land without not exactly knowing how they would develop there. And then the profitability would come later on at a later stage. After the crisis and after the big shift, when these investment funds started to invest in Spain, all the market understood that it needed to be done in a different way. So you needed to build a very robust business plan. You needed to turn uncertainties into certainties as much as possible, of course. And the purchase of the land was just the result of putting everything you could in a certain way together. And then, depending on the expected ROI, you could kind of put a maximum amount on purchasing the land. So this kind of reverse engineering we started to think about made things completely different compared to before. In this path, so I shift myself from, as I told you before, from an architectural practice to a consultancy firm. And then after, I would say in mid-2019, the Spanish landscape was again so vibrant that we were involved in so many viability projects. And it was a lot of work. And we needed a lot of heads. But still, I was frustrated on how it was possible that a big decision on how much money you were going to put on an investment was relying on a bunch of uncertainties, a bunch of kind of, all the process was very traditional, was based on test and error, was not driven by at all by data, because there was no way to find consistency patterns in data. So after 2019, I told my team, look guys, now that we have convinced our clients that they need to take decisions based on more certain and reliable data, we are responsible for providing them with this reliable data. So at some point in time, instead of just committing to an investment only with an Excel sheet, we were committed to provide them with a blueprint, with something that looked like a building, looked like a project. So we had a lot of work, no enough heads, and still this kind of frustration on how we could do things better. So by 2020, I was totally convinced that we should be something that looked like what afterwards we have called artificial intelligence. What we did in the first place. I said, okay, we've done a bunch of projects. We know the ones that turned very, very good, incredibly successful, which ones turned good, which ones didn't turn as good as expected. So the first thing we are going to do is gather data, try to find patterns, find correlations, and try to build tools that will allow us to make scenarios, to predict outcomes, and to help us or to help our clients taking the right decisions based on the right decisions taken in the past. So you can imagine somebody at 2020 building something that looked like an artificial intelligence without even knowing that it was artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
And in the most traditional and innovative resistance industry of all, which is real estate.
Yeah.
So this is how more or less we. When you put it all together and you try and you look back, all seems so natural, It's like it was a natural thing to do. At the time, we were like in the middle of the jungle, with a knife on our teeth, trying to open a path without even knowing what we were going to find next at our next step. So it is true that now, once we have achieved something that looks like a very powerful tool to help all the industry, it seems so natural. It seemed like the natural thing to do. But at the time, I can promise you that I was treated of fool, I was treated of mad, I was treated of You can imagine how many, in how many ways people thought that I could really dream of doing things in a different way in the real estate market. We have identified this big problem, which is meant to be the core pain of the whole industry, which is how to unlock the best value out of a site without having to put too much money and too much effort, and having the meanings to multiply the efficiency and the returns. So this is the kind of philosophy, I don't know if you say it in English, but the philosophical stone. So this is the kind of, the keystone in the industry. So we had this problem, and it was our client's problem, and it was our own problem. I had the resources within the R&D department in my company to say, okay, guys, let's see if we are able to build something that will help to solve our own problem. So we started with something that we were the first client of the technology. So the funny thing here is we didn't need money. We had a little grant from the Spanish Ministry of Science and Technology, which allowed us to develop the technology within our own company. So we started, and I would say that at the end of 2021, early 2022, we even considered marketing the solution. Because we were ready. We were ready to put something on the market that we thought profoundly that it was super useful for anybody, not only for ourselves. And then I looked around me and say, okay, I have built something. At the time, nobody would have called it AI. I have built something that like is a super robust technological tool that enables a process that normally takes time, a lot of time. It's done by creative minds. It's done by an architect or an architectural practice. And I want to put it in the market and to have clients among this real estate industry, which is traditional, which is resistant to innovations. I'm going to fail. So for a moment, I was totally sure that it would never have an opportunity. You know what I mean? So instead of that, I say, okay, no worry. We are going to use it in-house. We are going to prove it. We are going to prove it among our own clients with real projects and real scenarios. And we are going to compare with the traditional way of doing things. So we stayed there's an expression in Spain we use a lot, is we stayed inside the wardrobe. So we closed the doors, and we stayed in the behind the scenes in the dark. But this didn't prevent us to compare and to see and to experience how the tool, if the tool was as powerful as it seemed to be. And it was incredible. I mean, at some point in time, we were able to produce what in the past would have taken us between 2 and 4 months with 6 architects. We were able to do it in 24 hours. We were able, it was incredible. I mean, we were able to compare different projects, to compare different blueprints. We were able to compare different marketing mixes. We were able to give a so high quality work to our clients. It was incredible. So at some point we say, okay, this seems to be something super powerful. And then we have this big wave with this big explosion of ChatGPT, October 22.
Yeah, right.
And then suddenly everybody was speaking the AI language,
Yeah.
And everybody, right. So it became a super hype, even in Europe. I mean, maybe in Europe it came a bit later, but at the very beginning of 2023, another company was thinking, how on earth I can use AI to better do my processes, to better do my work, to improve my margins, to improve my ROI.
Yeah.
So when you said, so somehow we were waiting for the right moment as well.
Okay.
Because we
Right.
didn't need any money, we didn't need any funding, because all the development had funded itself. So we were bootstrapping. We avoided a lot of sunk cost. We produced very high quality work for our clients. Clients were paying back. We were increasing our clients' base, and this made it very resilient to wait for the right moment to go public and say, okay, guys, you know what? We have this very super nice, powerful tool that is going to help you and make your life better.
Yeah, yeah.